Welcome to the Loyal Locals podcast. My name is Jerry Jimenez. How you all doing? Welcome. It's been a little while, but guess what? We're managing to keep it consistent. Steve, what's going on, man?
How much are you doing? Hanging in there, man. Hanging in there. Happy January. Happy your times.
Yeah, right. Drew, what is that? What are you drinking?
Oh, I'm just gonna drink Black Tuesday by myself. You know, just a whole bottle by myself because I guess it's the thing to do these days.
From experience, and actually recent experience, you probably don't want to do that. Do not do that, Drew.
Do it, Drew. We're doing it right now on the podcast.
Steve, what are you drinking?
Swami.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I kind of drank all the beer that was in my fridge, and I have a snack beer that's a barrel aged, like sour, and it's actually pretty cool because it's all the loyal colors. I don't know if you can see that.
Ooh, yeah. Beautiful.
It's called Sunshine and Opportunity. But I'm excited. I'm gonna pop this open real quick. All right, so you guys know how we do around here. We like to drink beers and talk some footy. So we have a very special guest with us today. I do not want to waste any more time because I'm super excited to have this gentleman here with us today. He's a San Diego native. He joined San Diego Loyal prior to the inaugural season. He's been working for 2 decades in San Diego State University. He's a goalkeeper trainer and an associate head coach. He has coached youth soccer in San Diego community for over 20 years and is currently the director of coaches of Vista Storm. This man has a lot of experience in our sport, and we could not be more excited to welcome Coach Matt Hall. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so we want to get to know you a little bit more, and obviously for those that are members and that have been a part of the locals for a bit, you joined us for a happy hour, and we got to know you there a little bit, but hopefully this is going to reach a slightly wider audience, and we really want people to get into what is happening with Loyal Select, of course. So we're going to get into that a little bit here, but I would be failing if I didn't ask you, sir, what are you joining us today with? What beverage of choice?
This is my go-to whenever I have a long day. This is where I end up. Stone, delicious
IPA. We're still trying to get that sponsorship from Stone, but
we got a nice tap of Buena Vista in the office.
Oh man, yeah. Is that it is what they had. So we did a tour of the shop, and was it Pete? I was like, hey, you want some beer?
Yeah.
What? Oh, yeah, of course I kind of is that?
It's a great property, right?
It is awesome. It is so cool.
Mostly Tom and Travis, but yeah, I'll do a little bit of that.
Heard that song.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just get into it. Let's jump right into it. Coach Hall, so I like to start every interview, especially with somebody that I haven't really gotten too much of an opportunity to talk to. What was your first contact with the sport of soccer? What was the first time that you can remember, at least, that you were introduced to the sport?
That's a great question. I would say it was probably like 1983, good year. I was a 5-year-old kid growing up in Vista, California, and went out and played rec soccer at Beaumont Elementary School. Said, anyone want to play in goal? And I was like, sure, I'll play in goal. And the rest was history.
Wow. Yeah. And so that, if I heard correctly, you are a San Diego native.
Yes, sir. Vista, California, born and raised. I graduated from Vista High School. Go Panthers.
Oh, cool.
Met my wife there, love San Diego. It's my life mission to never leave.
You are talking to a fellow resident of Vista. I live in the Shadow Ridge area, so I live I went to Buena Vista High School.
Nice.
I was gonna give away your house location, Steve, but he could probably fall into your old stomping grounds.
Yeah, I grew up on the poor part of town, the other side.
But I mean, I love Vista. I grew up in Encinitas. More of a coast boy, but this is where I could afford a house, and I came to love the area. I work in that, and I love it. And like my wife and I are so happy here. So
yeah, great family community. They've really done a good job with like downtown Vista. Like it's a pretty good place to live now.
Yeah, totally. They've done such a good job.
I like to be silly sometimes and say that North County is not part of San Diego, but I mean, obviously it is, and it's one of those things because we're like the South Bay, so you guys can make the argument that South Bay is not San Diego. It's like Tijuana over here, but still, no, that is great to know. So some people may not know you're actually, San Diego native, born and raised.
760, man.
Oh, there you go.
Oh yeah.
Drew, do you have a question, sir?
I was going to say, no, it was definitely worth driving up to Vista now to Southern Orange County up there. That was going to be my quip, but you beat me to it. As somebody who's lived in Northern City my whole life, I've always appreciated the North County, even though people will throw the northern suburbs into the North County. I think that they're also honestly different like places. Jerry and myself, as well as a few of our other members in leadership, like to kind of discuss possibly different parts of town and how they have just major differences, like even North County to North City, right? It's like just totally little subtle differences that people just don't notice. That's always funny. But it's the county thing makes, everybody tie in a little bit in terms of what's going on there. But in terms of kind of growing up as a Vista native, what kind of tied you into getting into more soccer kind of from there, in terms of going from, a kid in Vista who just starts playing and loves it, I'm sure. But where did that scale out to become more of a coaching kind of pathway, I guess, for you in terms of where you went to?
Yeah. To be honest, coaching was never really like an objective of mine. I wanted to be a teacher. That was my pathway. I played at San Diego State and USD in college, and I was getting ready for the credential program, and the head coach at San Diego State called me and said, "Hey, I need someone to train the goalies. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Yeah." I was playing for the Flash at the time, and it worked out. So I just started coaching, and I guess it's just kind of the way life works sometimes when you're, not awful at something, like you kind of gravitate towards that. And I started coaching and realized that I was pretty decent at it, and, started reflecting on the relationships I had with my coaches and how much they meant to me growing up. And I just figured, it's just a different type of teaching. So I decided to go full go on coaching at that point.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. That was, and I mean, you mentioned playing at USD. How rad was that to kind of go back there? I mean, obviously we only had one game that fans, but the rest of the season, even, was it kind of rad to come full circle?
I mean, amazing. I mean, I only played 1 year, so I played 3 years at State. My senior year, I transferred to USD, so I only got 1 year there. But it's really a special place, and I had my senior year, we won the WCC, and it was, I think we were like 14-3. It was really an unreal year, and to be able to just step foot in that stadium again is pretty surreal. So it's pretty fun for me.
So you kind of mentioned your story from the San Diego State coaching to now. Can you kind of bridge that gap for us? How'd you go from a helpful college coach coaching goalkeepers to the coach of a USL championship, the goalkeeper of the USL championship club?
Oh man, what a story. So coaching is a fickle world, right? Especially San Diego State. We're in the Pac-12 for men's soccer, so it's results driven. And ultimately going into last year, 2 years ago, basically, we had a couple cycles of not doing as well as we could have, and they at that point made a leadership change at San Diego State, and I was the associate head coach, and I put my hat in for the job and had a pretty good chance at it, but ultimately they gave it to Ryan Hopkins, who's a really good coach. So I'm happy for San Diego State. They're in good hands. So I was totally, just totally unsure about what the future held for me. And I was at Mira Costa College. And I get a call from a 310 number, and I'm like, oh, because normally I don't answer my phone with numbers that I don't know. And I was like, all right, well, I'll take it. I'll take it. So I answer the phone. Hey, Matt, this is Landon Donovan. And I'm like, I literally thought it was a joke, like, ha ha ha, yeah, right. And he's like, no, yeah. So we're starting a professional team in San Diego, and obviously I knew that, and I was, yeah, of course. And he just started talking to me about, potentially joining, and I was just at a crossroads. I literally was super worried about what my future was going to be, and I got that call. So, super lucky, super fortunate, and now my role is expanding with Loyal, and things are really fantastic. So sometimes timing and a little bit of luck, and now I'm coaching at a unbelievable organization with unreal players and a very bright future. So.
And you hadn't met Landon before that, or
no?
So like, what was your reaction, like meeting him, and then obviously now getting to know him? Like we've all gotten to know him the first times. We all had those moments of like, holy ass, that's Landon, and then through your like time getting to know him and spend time with him, you're just like, he's just a cool dude. Like he's just one of us. Like we deify these people, but then you get to know him, and they're just such an incredible, genuine guy. You kind of tell that story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, like just working for him is it's amazing. Like he's super considerate. He's very thoughtful. I could tell you 100 stories about like some of the things that he's done that has been really impressive. But my favorite one is like I had to miss a training session because my daughter was in state cup, right? My 11-year-old daughter who's playing in state cup, and I had to miss the session. He was totally cool with it. And I'm on my way home from the game, and he texts me, "Hey, Matt, just checking to see how your daughter did." And I was like right then, I was like, dude, there's just no way. Like I was just through the moon. Like that's just such a cool thing and a cool gesture. Never would have expected it from him. And but that's the way he is. He's thoughtful, and he's really great to work with.
Yeah,
that's super cool. The thing that I from meeting him as well, like, we can say it, but once you experience what Landon Donovan is actually like in person, and when you've had a couple of conversations, you get to really understand the kind of person that he is. Like I know it, the three of us, Drew and Steve and myself, have that privilege of knowing him, and so it's just like, yeah, dude, we get it. We know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
On that. One really cool thing that I just realized,
right?
Was that
he just exudes empathy. So it's just cool to kind of be around and kind of be around that kind of stoking up of emotion and energy, and the way he redirects it and kind of brings you into it is always just, to me, what's interesting, right? So it's great, Jerry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point that so you were studying to be a teacher and you landed the coaching job, and then so that happened just kind of serendipitously. You weren't really gonna do that, and now that path took you to another path where it was like, okay, well, now what am I gonna do at San Diego State? And then you get a call from Landon Donovan. Were you at that point like, all right, who's pulling my leg? Is somebody like, is there like a friend that's just being a jerk right now?
No, for sure. I literally was like, I didn't think it was real. You know what I mean? And then we had a real conversation. You should have seen me after the call. It was hilarious. I had to go out to my, this is going to make me sound like a little kid. So hopefully this doesn't all air, but I run Vista Storm, right? The club in Vista, and like I go out to the fields and I'm like on cloud 9 because I just got this call, and and I'm like walking around to the coaches and I'm like, hey dude, look who just called me. Oh, so it was
that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, before we transition off of Landon, how does it feel to maybe have a higher U.S. soccer coaching license than him?
Yeah, I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one.
All right, so let's transfer into, and we will talk a bit about obviously. Are you guys calling it Team 2? You're still calling it Team One, or are you calling it anything specific?
I have not heard anything officially on
Okay.
that.
So we'll say we'll call it a first
Season
team.
2.
We'll call it the first team. Obviously, we'll talk a little bit later about first team and maybe what you're expecting coming in to the second season. But I really, really want to spend a large part of our time talking about obviously something that we are very excited about as supporters, and having some youth that we can support, and having something like Loyal Select, which
Yeah.
for those of you that are listening in maybe for the first time and don't know what I'm talking about, San Diego Loyal is launching a youth academy. It's not a full-blown academy program. Select will be a part-time program that allows players to remain with their respective club teams, all right, for training and games. So basically the goal of Loyal Select is to work with local clubs to help build and develop a pathway, a player pathway for San Diego and into professional playing. Right, for what we know, San Diego is just it's a hotbed for talent. It is a place where a lot of well-known players have already come out of, and there's so much talent here that is untapped. So we're very, very excited. When did this happen? Was this something that you came in already knowing was in the future plans, or was this something that was presented, later on?
So we talked about it from day one.
Okay.
Obviously, I didn't know what my role would be with it, to be honest. But we talked about it from the start that this is something that was going to be in the pipes, and we really all kind of thought about which direction would be best as far as how we wanted to approach it. And we all agreed on the part-time model. But I think you used the word serendipity earlier. Like we talked about it. We all kind of formulated a plan for it. And all along had no idea that I was going to be potential to be in charge of it. So the fact that they have confidence in me to take on this project is pretty amazing. So but yeah, from the jump, we all agreed that we wanted to help youth players in San Diego.
Yeah. So how rad is it that you kind of get to work with Shannon? Like, you guys both have connections and like deep roots in San Diego youth soccer here with her with the Del Mar Sharks, and then you obviously with Vista Storm. Like, how rad is it that you kind of get to build that with her and like use your connections that you've earned through the years?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me I just like working with good people. You know what I mean? And Shannon's amazing. Like, for what she's accomplished and who she is in the game, like she's just an amazing woman. She's actually from Escondido, if you don't know that, which I won't hold against her, but yeah, I mean, just professionally working with the entire staff has been just a really great experience, Shannon included.
Yeah, I think that's a name that we didn't really hear attached initially. We kind of know in the background that Shannon McMillan was involved in kind of getting this off the ground, right? And now she's going to be involved as well to represent San Diego Loyal, and something that's also very, very important. And we'll talk about that, at some other time. But in looking at kind of how the USL Academy League, which actually I should probably mention, so Loyal Select is going to be a part of the USL Academy League. There's two different levels that are within the league. It's the full-time and part-time. So we're going with the part-time, which is kind of nice because it's basically going to be two different divisions, if I'm not mistaken. Can you maybe give us kind of a breakdown how that's going to work out with the, I guess, Southwest division, and then there's other divisions that are being broken up, but it's two different levels?
Yeah, so that we'll all compete against each other, whether you're a full-time or part-time academy. It's just two different models within the Southwest division. So like Phoenix Rising has like a full youth academy from U8s to U18. They train probably 3 to 4 days a week. So their model is different than ours, but we will be playing games against Phoenix Rising. So some of the leagues in the East Coast are further along with their structure. So for us being in the Southwest, we're brand new. So, we're kind of like sorting things out as we go. But there are, for the most part, it's just two different structures. But we will be playing against each other. So it's just whatever the club feels is best for their particular, situation. And we opted for the part-time.
So you're saying you're gonna be playing against the other divisions, so like East?
No. So we'll play only in the Southwest.
Southwest. Okay.
But within the Southwest, there are teams that have full-time academies.
Got it. Okay. So I just want to make sure that's clarified. And just real quick to list them, and then we'll let Drew take the next one. But Colorado Rush, El Paso Locomotive, New Mexico United, Orange County SC, Phoenix Rising FC, San Francisco Glens SC, and Ventura County Fusion are all teams within the Southwest Division.
And Oakland Roots will have one as well. They just joined the USL Championship, so they'll have a team as well.
Sweet.
Fantastic.
Glens are a long time development up in San Francisco who have gotten
very long time.
Yeah. So it's a really cool kind of group of clubs here that are some old, some new, kind of growing up a tree, which is pretty interesting. So there's been fruit, as I said, kind of coming from different trees that have been planted a little longer than our tree. But our tree is growing roots, right? Not to steal from Oakland, but how quick do you think we'll start seeing some of the roots take shape, as well as some kind of like tree of this, select kind of plant and grow up? They call me the king of analogies. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was laughing because
no one calls him the king of analogies, by the
way. So to be honest, Drew, your guess is as good as mine. Like the cool thing, and the for us, the mission is just to be in line with the first team. And that's, one of the reasons why they wanted me to be in charge of it, was that the youth organization is in line with what the first team is doing, and not just playing style, but just culturally as well. So there's going to be, a lot of cultural conversations, a lot of information about, how to act, how to be as a human being, as well as soccer. So, I think there's going to be, a really awesome culture. But to be honest, like soccer wise, I have no idea. Like no one really knows like what the competition is going to be like. No one knows. So that's going to be a really like interesting expedition.
What about recruiting players, I guess? So like bringing in do we have players on a list yet? Are we there? Like,
yeah. So
starting like, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So COVID's obviously been a bit of an impediment to us, right? So it's hard for us to just go out and like recruit players and look at games and things like that. So like we're going to some training sessions. We're talking to our networks, and we've had probably about 40 to 45 players out in the months of December and January to train and to evaluate. We've called them player combines. And then we're having one more in February. So we've got one more combine coming up. And then after that February combine, we'll basically select our final roster.
Oh, fantastic. So you're obviously going to have your hands full. It looks like you're going to be overseeing technical staff, local club relations, the scouting, which we just discussed now. And then, when talking about the technical staff and building, not just that, but obviously also the players and how those are going to be selected. Have you guys looked into, obviously culture is a big part of it, but also cultural background and bringing in some of the youth that, maybe is being overlooked? Like, how are you guys judging that while players are being selected, the scouting process?
Yeah. So, the reality is San Diego is a very large soccer community, right? So it's nearly impossible for us to know about everyone. We are really trying to spread the word that if people know of special players that deserve this opportunity, because, it's going to be something that is going to be zero to very little cost for players. So we're just trying to spread the word that if there's players out there that we need to see, that we need to know about it. So I've done a couple, interviews, and we're just trying to get the word out that, please, just send us information. So I've been getting a ton of emails. Luckily for me, I've been in the youth game here for 20 years. So my network is pretty decent, so I've been talking to a ton of directors of coaches, at some of the marquee clubs that about, but also a lot of the smaller clubs too. But I'm not, but the more help I can get, the better, so if there's players out there that deserve this opportunity, I'd love to know about it.
Yeah. And on our last podcast, we just started trying to introduce Loyal Select and all that stuff. And something that kind of came back to me while we were recording was there was a picture that came out last year that Evan Rotundo started training with you guys, this season, and now he's, overseas at Schalke and seemingly doing well by, the Twitter reports and stuff like that. Can you talk about how that kind of came about, how he got into training?
Of course.
That
was a great experience. So it came about really because under the pro umbrella, we're afforded certain rights that a lot of soccer clubs weren't provided during the quarantine, so to speak. So we had the opportunity at that point to have him out when they were completely dormant at that point and they weren't training. So we decided that since we were going to be starting up, that we'd bring a few youth players out, and he was one of them. There was a group of 3 or 4 youth players that came out and trained with us during that very, very interesting quarantine. We were training in a ranch in Encinitas and in some backyard in
some person somebody knew.
Yeah, it was the weirdest couple months ever.
To cover the scouting process that you had mentioned, and then we'll jump back into that because it actually kind of goes from what you just mentioned, which is the USSDA Academy, which no longer exists. However, it sounds like you will still be kind of I guess scouting and looking at the qualities of a player as if they were going to go into a U.S. soccer national team player pool.
Correct.
Right? Scouting recommendations from directors of local clubs, what you mentioned, would be first. Obviously, there's going to be the technical staff, which would be going into and looking at trainings and games. And then will you also be hosting camps?
Not as of today. We won't be. That's not to say that won't happen in the future.
Yeah.
But right now we're just doing the combines through recommendations and through personal evaluations from myself and the staff. When we do receive inquiries, I guess, I'm watching a ton of videos from players in the county that want to get involved. So that really helps if they have video. So there's a solid influx of people that are interested. I will say that, and this is an important thing, is it's going to be a very fluid group. You know what I mean? It's, I think they do it 3 times a year. You can adjust your roster in the USL. So it's not to say that, what the group is on March 1 is going to be what the group is in October, so it's going to be fluid. It's going to change and morph as this process, opens up, because in a couple months, hopefully we'll be able to actually go out to games and watch competitions and actually recruit in a traditional manner.
Awesome. And just to kind of go over how that's going to work, because you guys are starting this in 2021, am I right? I mean, that's the goal, that's the plan.
Yeah, we're planning on starting training in early March. It's supposed to be basically run concurrently with the USL season.
Awesome. So yeah, to kind of seal this up in a nice little bow. So the structure, again, we just went over. It's going to be once a week, right? Training once a week. It's going to run parallel with San Diego Loyal season, 8 to 10 total games. All right. So that's something that we can look forward to. Is there going to be, obviously we don't know about anybody being able to attend these games, but are you guys going to have any sort of access to be able to view them if we cannot go and check those out? Is that going to be something that is even a possibility? I know that it's one of these things with youth that I've come to learn is that, obviously you're trying to develop. It's not so much that the scores matter. That's not ever posted on like the, whenever the social media is promoting there's like a MLS team that has a lower academy team. They don't really post scores because that's not what this matters. So I understand kind of that perspective, but will we as supporters, after all, this is the Locals podcast, will we have some sort of way to keep up with those games?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know that answer exactly, to be honest, but I'm guessing that there will certainly be access to it. I know I've talked to the front office about, kind of engaging in our own social media platform, and obviously be connected, but also like have our own kind of entity, so I think that this is going to be quite a popular thing. And I think as demand, pushes, I think, we'll figure out ways to satisfy that demand.
We'll have to start a local select as well to show up at games. And
There you go.
Diego's going to be the president.
right.
And just to mention, because we haven't talked about it, and it's one of the things that I'm seeing a lot is that the age range for the team is predominantly 03s to 06s, which are basically high school age kids. And then I just want to mention that because I'm getting a lot of emails from, parents from 08s or 09s, and the more people that know those specifics, the better. So it'll be a group of a couple of 03s, which are seniors, a couple of 06s, which are freshmen, and then predominantly juniors and sophomores.
That's cool. Yeah, it'll be a real awesome mix. I think we're all excited to see who comes out, who makes up, kind of the initial grouping, as well as, where the ties start. Because I think for a lot of us, it's, is it my neighborhood? That this kid come from? For me in particular, watching Barry play on the first team, I'm sure being a USD alum, and then kind of having that habit. It's really cool to see when that all kind of comes all the way through. And being somebody from that part of San Diego is special to me. To kind of have somebody who grew up kind of in a similar part, take place on our first team, which was pretty neat. And so speaking about the first team and kind of moving in that direction a little bit, what was it this year? I think in the 2020 year, kind of looking back at the last season and then moving forward, what did you take with you from your first, I guess, was this your first pro season coaching?
Oh, wow.
So how would you say you learned kind of from the college game and what you're doing with your club in Vista? How did the USL kind of initial season? Landon said he learned about 5 years in 1 year. Nate kind of attributed that a little bit, I think earlier this week. What do you in terms of drinking from the fire hose? And kind of what was your biggest, I guess, takeaways in terms of elevating?
Oh man, that's a big question.
Yeah.
So training keepers, because San Diego State was a pretty high level. So training keepers, I wouldn't say is that much different, to be honest. There's certainly differences because the college game is like twice a week and it's just intense and crazy. So the cycles are a little bit better in the pro game, and you can periodize things way better. So the training aspect is not necessarily different. It's just really the difference of dealing with 19-year-olds and grown men. You know what I mean? Like it's just a different management dynamic. Because tactics aren't that much different. But the whole structure is different when you're talking about working with grown men whose livelihood depends on our success. So it's a different dynamic, and I learned a ton from the staff involved, and on what it is, like the details and the dynamic of just running a professional organization. Like it was a really beautiful year for me as far as just my own personal development. But I think the thing that sticks out for me the most, and this might not make any sense to you guys, but and I won't mention any names, but like I'm used to 19-year-old kids and they're, what's their main drive in life is like, oh, I need to, go to college and find a girl, whatever they want to do. Right. This year I'm during the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm having a conversation with one of our players, and there was this huge thing on the USL front of like kneeling before the game, and so like I'm having this in-depth conversation with a grown man about why he doesn't feel appropriate, or why he feels it's not appropriate for him to kneel during the national anthem, and it was like a real conversation, and I'm like, yeah, this is not like talking to a 19-year-old kid, So like, just dealing with a different clientele and how their brains are and what motivates them and how to manage that personality is just way different than college.
Yeah, because you're not like trying to develop 19-year-old kid goalkeepers, right? You're like trying to hone grown men's craft, right? Like it's a different story. So like on that, like what was it like kind of getting Kempen, and then like we all saw him, he was one of, if not the best keeper in USL Championship. Like what was it like coaching him? What was it like, working with somebody who's at that level day in, day out?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, dude, are you kidding me? Like that's my job, to go train the best keeper in the Western region. Great, let's do that. So it was really good, I think the biggest thing for me is, this is in every walk of life, right? You evolve, if you want to evolve, I guess. And working with John was really great for me, not only because he was really good, obviously, and he performed through the roof, but like you learn things from the players as well. You know what I mean? So like going through the process with the keepers we had this year, and all of them were good. It was a year for me to kind of like, I guess, test the waters and figure out like what my role exactly is at this level. Mm-hmm. And they all helped me with it, and now the dynamic is I can go into next year and be just way more confident with what I'm doing, be way more successful because I know what it takes now because of all those keepers on how we're going to be successful training keepers going into 2021. So, and John was a huge part of that.
And like another kind of point that I think you brought up in the happy hour over the summer, but I think is totally worth asking again is like, how do you maintain? I mean, obviously, at the beginning of the season, we didn't have Kempen. So Fenlison started that first, very first game, the infamous first match game that we were all at. And then here comes
USL goal of the year.
Yeah. And then like here comes John Kempen, this incredible, MLS level goalkeeper on loan. Like, how do you kind of manage and maintain and like coach the person to like kind of keep Jake and, ready at the ready? Because, obviously keeping is so weird where, he could get Kempen could have gotten injured, and then all of a sudden, Fenlison has to be at the ready, and we saw it. We did see that this season, and so like, how do you kind of maintain and like manage the people, manage the person, to keep spirits high and not make it like a bickering kind of weird rivalry?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, it's that's probably the biggest part, right? To be honest. Kicking balls is kicking balls, like managing the personalities and making sure they're motivated and buying in is just so significant. So, there's a lot of answers to that question. But I just think as long as you're fair, to everyone involved, then, I think it kind of takes care of itself. For me, I always set a culture of these players supporting each other. Regardless of situation and dynamic, like at the end of the day, they all need each other, whether you're the one or the three. And like a lot of it just boils down to getting the right people, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, like someone comes in and they're not the right person and they're upsetting the culture of my goalkeeper core, they're probably not going to be around that long, because it's just not productive. So, I think a lot of it's recruiting the right person. But I also think it's about just being fair, setting expectations, and I think the biggest thing for us this year with why the culture was so good on the goalkeeper core is that people got chances. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, like everyone got their chance to do it, you know. So when they trained well and we had a moment, then they had an opportunity, and not a lot of clubs do that. Like not a lot of clubs give opportunities to a number 2 or number 3 goalkeeper, and we did this year.
I remember one of the matches Austin Guerrero started, and it kind of seemed like it came out of nowhere. But then, you know, thinking about it, I think hearing interviews and stuff like that, it's just like he was training well, and it was time to give him a start, you know. And it's like, well, that's really rad. You know, you see Liverpool, they play Allison every single game. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty rad to see the rotation, and especially the local kid Austin. But like that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good follow-up to my question, which is actually a two-parter. You don't have to think about this for too long. First of all, why is Austin Guerrero such a heartthrob? And second part, who's our keeper for 2021? Ready, set, go.
Yeah, Austin Guerrero, dude, I love the kid. There's no way I can answer either of those questions without getting in trouble. So I'm gonna just say, you know, I love Austin Guerrero. He's totally fantastic to train. Who the number 1 will be is going to be who trains the best. And that's just all I can say at this point.
Okay, so as far as we know, it's Austin Guerrero, because that's the only name that we know that could possibly be even coming back. So anything at all that you can actually give us, because I'm sure you've seen it. I don't know if anybody has told you this, but that is the talk of the town right now. We need
Rabbit on Twitter
information. We feel like, dang, our backline is amazing. Now, who's gonna be back there?
I didn't know you guys were going to be headhunting and trying to get me sacked. I am very low on the totem pole, and it is certainly not my liberty to discuss who we've signed. So if you want to get someone higher in the structure on your next podcast, they might be able to tell you who we've already signed for goalkeeping.
And find out right now, or
but we have already come to deals with 2 other keepers. So
okay, cool. That's something. That's something. That is something that at least knows that we have keepers coming. That's all we need.
Hang off of, because we're slipping here. Yeah, I will say there was how many trolls in our online community for Loyal. It's a beautiful community with people, but there is some definite trolling going on about the keeper situation. So they just want names. So
what will the keepers look like?
I'm giving no names, 0 names given.
What about the kids? What are the kids going to look like? Same kid?
Oh God, that's way above my pay grade. Yeah, no idea.
Phase of the interview. Yeah.
Is one of the goalkeepers' first name Tony? And why is it not Tony from 2 Balls on the Mic podcast? Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't. I know the podcast, but I don't know the goalie per se.
Tony from the podcast fancies himself a keeper. It is a legitimately good rec league keeper, but yeah, he would fancy himself in your open tryout if you'll have him.
Well, Tony from 2 Balls and a Mic, come down to Chula Vista, dude. I'll give you a good little run.
There you go, Tony.
You're welcome, Tony. All right, so I think it's time we jump into some questions from Twitter to close this off. Some of our listeners, I gotta throw it really quickly up there. I didn't want to give people too much of a chance to ask Matt any questions because I already knew what was coming, and I already asked that question. So
there was confusion over the STUT Matt Hall. Have you ever gotten that in your life? The STUT editor of opinions is Matt Hall, Matthew Hall. Yeah.
No, but the mayor of Carlsbad is also Matt Hall.
Oh really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Matt Hall's all over the county.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's a blessing.
Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
Oh, you want me to go first? Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Darren Smith. Who's that? I don't know that. Shout out to Darren Smith from the Unnamed Soccer Podcast. He asks, how involved were you in SDSU's recruitment of Matthew Hoppe?
Oh, that's a great question.
Hoppe. Yes.
Matthew Hoppe.
For those of you that don't know who that is, he is from Linda. He plays for
Matthew Hoppe has scored 5 goals in the Bundesliga in the last 3 games.
Yeah.
Before going to Germany, he was committed to San Diego State. And at that point in my career, I was not the director of recruiting. A young man named Josh Hill was the director of recruiting, and he laid the groundwork and did most of the hard work for that. But I do know Matt, and I was a part of the process, but I was not the main driving force behind Matt Hoppe potentially going to San Diego State.
Yeah, it's crazy seeing his stats. It was like kind of like a, not a nobody, but he was, he's going to start for Salka. Oh my gosh. And then it's a hat trick and then another goal and then another goal. It's like, wow,
Well, yeah, I mean,
really shot up the totem pole there.
It's amazing, dude. And it's he's a really good kid. He's a great kid, works hard, deserves what he gets. But I mean, in reality, like if you look at, and you don't need to, but if you look at like his U.S. Academy like statistics, I mean, that kid scored 20 goals a year at every team he played for. Like the kid just scores goals. It's
a natural goal scorer. Got the nose for it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Steve, go for it. That's the next one, man.
What was the next question I had lined up?
No, not from Twitter. You don't have any more questions. You're done with questions.
I was going to say that it's a year of American surprises in the Bundesliga. So if you're not watching Bundesliga and you're American and you care about Americans, you need to get in there. You got Coach Materazzo in Stuttgart. It's my team in Bundesliga who I follow.
Nice.
So it's been fun to watch. Yeah, not only hockey, but watch Materazzo and Rain obviously with Dortmund. It's been an amazing year for Americans in Bundesliga. So if you're not tuning in, you have to. Steve, go ahead.
So one of the questions from Twitter was Tom Phillips, our director of philanthropy, was
nice.
Matt Hall want to know about Matt. What does Matt Hall want us to know about Matt Hall? Like, what do you guys know? What's your deep dark secrets?
Oh man, dude. To be honest, I'm a pretty open book. So if you want to know who I am, just go to the loyal social media. Just get to that mic'd up session when I was training the goalkeepers, and you'll know exactly who I am. That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
There you go. Jerry, you want to take another? You want to take the next one?
I'll fire away. I'll say this is from Steve in Vista. He asked, "Have you ever drank Black Tuesday solo?" This is a pertinent question as I slur my words.
So first of all, Steve, you live in a wonderful city. Okay, find people that live there. But no, I have not. I would love to do that. And if you guys ever want to invite me over to wherever it is you hang out, I'll be glad to come engage.
Post COVID, and then you're
Of course.
You live close. Well, I got a couple bottles, so.
I actually live in Rancho Bernardo, so I hang out with the retired people.
He lives closer to me then. There you go.
Nice.
But Steve has a better backyard. I don't have a backyard, so there you go.
I do have the space.
That's why you live in Vista.
Yep. I love it.
All right, here we go. We're gonna end it with this one, and I think maybe you want to take it from whatever perspective you want to take it. But so we were asked at some point who we believed was our rival. I think we all kind of have this similar opinions, which is that it's too early in the history of this club to have a rival. We would prefer it to happen naturally. Nate Miller was asked, and he answered Phoenix. All right, so Nate Miller believes Phoenix is our rival already, and I think this happened actually on the Unnamed Soccer podcast. And we're going to ask you the same question: Do you believe that this club has a rival, and who would that be?
I do believe we have a rival. I also think we may end up with other rivals, to be honest, because I mean we lived in such a small nutshell this year, and I don't think we actually got the breadth of competition that you would have to really develop. But if I was to say right now, it would certainly be Phoenix. I just think that a lot happened between our organizations, and I think that going forward, that's going to be a game that everyone circles on the schedule.
Yeah, and I think especially because they were widely known as the cream of the crop. Their record last year, 2019, they won those 20 games in a row, and then they came into this season with extremely high aspirations and playing super well, and then we took it to them in that game in Phoenix, and then obviously the game here, circumstances. But the point is, they had their arrogance behind them, and we went in there and kicked their ass, and that was a huge part of. To me, that was the turning, one of the turning points of the season was one of the.
What a half of soccer that was.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to give them any little media snippets for them to use against us. So I'm just going to say I'm looking forward to playing Phoenix next year. Let's leave it at that.
Yeah, and maybe our perspective.
The best.
You take that away. Yeah, like our perspective, why we think it's maybe too early.
Yeah, I would say that from a San Diegan's perspective, I think we all have harboring. As you know, we all have feelings for zonies, right? Who come to our beaches and do their zony things. So that aside, and the fair people of Tucson as well, who I love. But I will say Phoenix has a particular kind of straw in our craw that most San Diegans just don't enjoy mostly. And so I will say that it adds to it a little bit versus Orange County. We can find some similarities with and say we're similar people. So I think there is that kind of cultural divide with Phoenix a little bit, but I'll be curious to see how Roots kind of come into the league and as we play them and their quality, what that looks like for sure. So as you said, we just haven't had the depth of competition. Reno was fun to play. Unfortunately, they're not in the league this year, but teams like that I think if we see more teams that obviously we have a hard game against and then can come back against, you'll see some of that, more friction, at least from the fans. I think we want to be there a little bit too to kind of juice the rivalry, if you will. So it's been a bit of a talk between a few of us, but
don't count out Galaxy too.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
I will say, yeah, it's kind of always there for me as LA is the big bugaboo for even LAFC, even people like Jerry who are big fans and have been there. It's hard for me as a San Diegan who's always, never rooted for an LA team or a team outside of San Diego besides Tottenham. And then Stuttgart, where my family's from originally. But that's where, for me, it's just really hard to pull the way that I pull for San Diego teams, the way that I would pull for any other team. So LA has always been that kind of sticking point for me personally. Is there a market weirdly that just hits you as oh, this team seems this way? Or was there a team in college maybe that was kind of got you guys with SDSU that was kind of a rival, I guess, there?
You guys are trying to get me in trouble again. No, I love everyone, man. All inhabitants of the earth, I love.
Perfect. Good
goal right there. Love everybody unless they're coming at my goal, and then I'll throw it back out.
So,
sorry, we're pretty much out of time here with Coach Matt Hall. So I wanted to kind of bring things back around. Steve, did you want to add something before I close it out?
I was going to say today it was actually just officially and formally announced.
I hate you.
The schedule and the timing of everything. So, can you maybe give any insight on when team one or first team training and when things kind of pick up?
Yeah. Tentatively,
right.
We are looking at starting early March. I think either the first or second week of March. And it depends on our first actual competition is when we start, but May 1st was approved, but it can, from what I've been told, we can play 2 weeks either side of May 1st. So depending on when we decide to have our first game will be when we start camp.
Yeah, Steve, I'm a little upset at you because you took the a few hours. We're a few hours separated from official announcement from USL Championship, which has announced that the Board of Governors approved a flexible start date of May 1st. That is flexible because they say anytime between April 24th and May 15th. Obviously, the practices need to begin before that, but we have kind of a better idea when the season itself is going to begin, which is fantastic. Now, the teams will be split into 4 divisions, and it will contain a 32-game slate running across 27 weeks through the end of October, with playoffs scheduled for November. So that's the information that we got. Obviously, they need to continue monitoring what is COVID-19 and how that's going to affect everything. But with that being said, I wanted to say thank you so much, sir, for spending time with us today. This was a blast. Hopefully this will not be the last time. We get to talk to you a little bit more once you can actually tell us a little bit more about your goalkeepers that you will be working with this season. And then also just to get to know you some more, man, because, you're local. We apparently now we owe you a Black Tuesday.
Let's go.
I'll be hanging out at Steve's house in Vista.
Bring it.
So with that being said, and to kind of close this up, now that we know whereabouts we're going to be starting, what can the locals look forward to from not just the team, but also from the coaching staff and from the goalkeepers, just in general? I mean, what can we look forward to in the second season of San Diego Loyal?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, it's beautiful how ambitious this club is. So you guys have seen the signings, right? Okay, so we're bringing in some studs. Okay, so that in itself helps, right? So just in general, like it's going to be a really, really good pool of players. But I think the biggest thing that's going to grow, to be honest, is in such a modified short season that we had last year. It's just really hard to just expand and really like hone in on your playing model and your culture. You know what I mean? Like it's just really hard when it's that compressed. So I just think that we're all going to look forward to a better environment so that everyone can see like exactly what we're about, on the field and off the field. So, the normal-ish season is going to give us the opportunity to really expand what we're doing. So it's going to be amazing.
I can't wait to marinate. Oh yeah. So gonna.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for us. Drew, is there anything that you want to add before we go?
I've had way too much Black Tuesday. I'm still. I got a half a glass.
Just sipped it once, right? We probably already. Yeah,
It's starting to happen, and my brain is like, "No, what did you do?"
I told you.
Yeah.
No, it's what the beauty of it is though. It's because it's not carbonated. I learned this from a friend that texted me. Steve from Vista. He says that it's not carbonated, so you can actually just cap it off and drink it later. It'll be fine. It's still strong as hell, by the way.
I keep drinking it.
It was bad. Steve, is there anything you want to add?
We'll give it to each other here when we can, once we're all vaccinated here in a few months, hopefully.
Hopefully. That's my hope. That's what I kind of finish on is, thank you for your time. I look forward to the season. Hopefully, the season starts in a time frame, and with COVID, on the decline, we can get even limited capacity in there. Can't wait to get back to Torero, Section 109, see you guys in person. That's the whole goal. That's why we started this. That's why we work so hard in this, support our club, support our players, support you guys. So I can't wait. And I'm really hopeful. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you for your time. This was really awesome.
Yeah, man. You guys are big time. It's very enjoyable hanging out with you guys. So let me know when you want to do it again.
Likewise.
Yeah, no, same.
I was going to second Steve and say I just can't wait to give you an advantage behind your goal as well. So that's really what we want to do, right? Is we want to give you an advantage so second half you're behind us, and you got.
I love that.
Yeah, that's our job. But yeah, no, this was a fantastic time. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you all that are listening to us for hanging out. Hopefully you enjoyed that. We'll talk to you guys very, very soon. Some exciting stuff coming up. Nothing but good news coming up. Actually, we can only find out nothing but good stuff when that is players and a goalkeeper. Hopefully soon. No, we tried. All right, those listening.
I got
in trouble. Yeah. What's that, Drew?
Oh, I was going to ask Matt real quick. I got an inside source from the club who just texted me and told me, "How do you feel about Tell Us About Yourself Tuesdays? How do you feel about that, Matt?
About what?
Tell us about yourself Tuesdays. How do you enjoy Tell Us About Yourself Tuesdays?
I was the last person to present. I'm not gonna lie, I'm mildly humble, but I smashed that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I think it's an awesome thing. I don't want to ever do it again, I guess.
What is yourself Tuesdays? I heard this from
every Tuesday, a player or a coach does like a probably 20 to 30 minute PowerPoint presentation on their life and who they are and things like that. And then at the end of the presentation, they pick someone for the next week. It's a really cool, like culturally, it's awesome. I did mine at the end of the year, and the boys found out a lot about me, and they enjoyed it. So it was good.
That's rad.
That's awesome.
All right. That's a good way to end it. No, again, thank you so much for joining us, everybody listening. Thank you to Coach Matt Hall for joining us. For Mr. Drew Stack, for Mr. Steve Brokoff, and for Coach Matt Hall, my name is Jerry Jimenez. See you guys later.